everybody, and welcome to episode number 41 of the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast. I got to tell you, I'm pretty fired up today because episode 41, that's one number higher than Trevor Bauer's salary next year. I mean, you got to be kidding me. I mean, when you look at and I was walking my dog yesterday, and I was stewing on this I was walking my dog 5 o'clock, around 5:30 Eastern time yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I was stewing on this for the 45 minutes that I was walking her around the neighborhood, thinking about Trevor Bauer. And hey, good for him. Congrats to him for making all that money next year, 3 over 103. I'm not bagging on that. What I'm saying though, is that it's not good for the long-term implications of the game when you have a team that can pay a guy that much money and he's getting paid more than four teams, whatever it's called. I'm so fired
total
up.
Payroll.
Right. Yeah. I'm so fired up that I can't, including, by the way, and this is the irony in it, his former team, the Cleveland Indians. So to me, and teams go through these exhaustive rebuilds and you want to start to wonder, again, this is where the long-term effects come into play. Mm-hmm. You start to wonder, okay, so we're going through this exhaustive rebuild when the Dodgers never have to go through that. They can easily just buy their way to getting what they need, while teams like the Pirates, for example, going through their huge rebuild right now. By the way, there's no guarantee that they'll come out on the other side winning a world championship. What's the point? It's not good for maybe it's good for the short term. Sure, the Dodgers are a team to watch next year, but I don't think it's good for the long-term haul of the game.
I don't know how you get around it. Yeah,
people are calling for a salary cap, but I mean, whatever.
Right. I guess that luxury tax really doesn't matter.
Doesn't really do anything. Right.
Doesn't do anything. And there won't be a salary cap because the union is too strong.
Right.
In my opinion, for at least the Major League Baseball union. But it kind of made me sick because, I'm a Padre Rockies fan.
Right.
And the Padres have worked their tail off the last 7-8 years to get where they were with their prospects, and then start adding pieces this year. And it's like I don't want to say it's all for naught, but that's kind of a ridiculous pitching staff, you know, and who knows, you never know. Bauer could, end up getting hurt for, a year, and somebody else could get hurt. So it's not, but really for the team to win the World Series, you know what it's like? It's like the team that won the Super Bowl now gets the number one draft pick, Trevor Lawrence.
Exactly.
That's what that's like. And assuming Trevor Lawrence is number one draft pick, but that's kind of what it's like. Yeah. You won the World Series and now you get rewarded because you're in a larger market and you have deeper pockets than anyone else. And you have a guy that wants to go to LA. Your weather's better than it is in Pittsburgh.
Right.
I will tell you they have to overpay because of the tax implications, though. Right. I mean, he's going to pay, at least more than half of his games are going to be in the state of California.
Yeah.
In the NL West. So a lot of that money is for naught, So I guess on the bright side, you can look at it as, Governor Newsom will go ahead and take a large percentage of Bauer's salary. And that kind of makes me feel a little better. Hopefully he gives it to the right people that deserve it.
Well, he may not be in office by that time because there's signatures piling up for his recall.
That's right.
I'm not, again, I'm not rooting for Bauer to have his money taken via taxes. I know you're looking at it from that aspect. I'm looking at it though, from just the game in general and the health of the game going forward. Everybody talks about, well, you like a dynasty, and during the Yankees dynasty, they're the highest rated team on television every single year. Mm-hmm. And you watch the Patriots and the Cowboys, who haven't won a Super Bowl since '96. Speaking of which, they're still one of the highest rated teams on television that people watch. I understand that, but for that dynasty, there's always a fodder to that. The Yankees always had their fodder, which was the Red Sox, the Braves. There were a lot of parity. There was a lot of parity and a lot more teams that were better during the Yankees dynasty, so to speak, than now. There's just not enough parity in the game, and I don't think it's very good going forward in the long term for the game of baseball, which last year, and you and I talked about this last summer on the show, losing viewers, losing listeners, losing fans in general, because people with the pandemic and everything found other things to do. And it wasn't some would say it wasn't really a legitimate season anyway, 60 games.
Yeah.
I think it was, but
will be
whatever. I'm in
I
minority.
just think pitching, and I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, I like Trevor Bauer a lot. And I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I now am less of a Dodger fan. Doesn't mean I don't like Dodger people or the front office or anything, but I'm like, as a fan, I didn't root for the Yankees either back in the day.
Right.
I root for the Yankees more now than I ever have.
Yeah.
Because they're not, quite at that level they once were, where essentially the Dodgers are now. But you know what? The hard part is when you have a short series, a 5-game series. So say the Dodgers went out and purchased, offensive guys, right, to bolster a lineup.
Yeah, that guy. By the way, they're still trying to get Justin Turner back.
Yeah, I'm hoping he goes to Milwaukee, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
But it's it's a shutdown pitcher. In a 5-game series, you got you got Buehler. I mean, and Kershaw's pretty good, and so is everyone else on their staff, right? And so, but it's not like a hitter. Hitter can go into a slump.
Yeah.
A pitcher, for the most part, at that caliber, isn't going to go into a slump for 4 or 5 days where it's going to affect the team. You might have a bad outing here or there. So it really positions the Dodgers in a place where they're going to, they're going to have a really good shot to not only win the West, but go just blow through the playoffs, blow through the short series, blow through all the series until they get to World Series. And then, hey, maybe stress and nerves catch up to some people.
Right.
We'll see.
So he'll be making what? How many millions per start? 2, 3 million per start? Probably around that. Depends on how many starts he actually makes.
Yeah. Well, if he starts 20, 25 games a year, they start 25 games.
I was going to give him 30, benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Well, so I'll make $1 million a start.
Right.
Roughly.
Episode number 41. I'm Jim, alongside my partner, friend, co-host, former coach, and professional evaluator, the myth, the legend, the myth, the legend, and a diehard Broncos fan, Jake Epstein.
I'm a diehard Broncos fan now, huh?
Yeah. I was going to go
I like the Broncos.
I was going to go.
Root for them.
You wait a second. You always liked the Broncos. That's why I said it. But maybe I mean,
I'm not a diehard. Like there's some crazy fans. I'm not a diehard, but I'll watch them if I'm around and my yard work is done on a Sunday. I'm probably going to watch the Broncos game.
I tried to go to the Super Bowl experience in Tampa, where I live, and I couldn't go. I got denied because I didn't have a ticket, and I didn't have a mask, and I had my dog with me. So 3 strikes and you're out. It was down by what's called in Tampa the River Walk, where I always run and take walks with the dog, and unfortunately it was right across the street, right around the convention center. For those Tampa listeners, know what I'm talking about, and I couldn't get in. I didn't have a ticket. It was disappointing too, because you run the 40-yard dash, you kick a field goal. It would have been great. And the tickets sold out within like 2 hours. I'm like, and I heard about this. I'm like, well, shit, I wanted to go. Why wouldn't it be a free exhibit for fans? I don't get it.
I don't know. Well, because they probably had to limit it, right? Now, are you going into? Did you go to the stadium? Because I know you work. You do work for the Bucks.
I did not go. Wait. No. When did I go? No, I have not gone to the stadium in a long time. They've been on the road for the whole postseason.
But assuming the Super Bowl was yesterday, and we're filming this on a Monday,
right? Boy, I'm out of it.
Were you in the press box?
Yeah, yes, I was.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
so you got to see the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you know what? The halftime performance and the game itself, I'm so dazed and confused this Monday morning that I just forgot. By the way, on this Monday morning, I'm wearing your hat, the lab hat that I suggest everybody goes, and thank you for that.
It's a good hat.
For giving me the nice gift, if you will. I suggest everybody go to the labbcs.com and order this hat. It's very, very comfortable. And you and I off air were talking about our head sizes, and we both have pretty nice heads of hair. And but I look better in hats than most people. Yeah. And it's just the way
I don't.
Yeah. And it's just, I guess it's my head size. I look younger with a hat on. It's very, I don't know. But I suggest everybody goes out and gets this hat. I have a, by the way, a question for you. Do you make kids, when you're teaching in your academy, do you make kids wear a hat, or are you just like, whatever, we're okay?
No.
Yeah. There was this place where I grew up. It's called.
Yeah, I mean, you can. A lot of people will, because it puts it. You got the bill, your cap in there. But I mean, if we have machines going, then they always have a helmet on. But yeah, I don't make them if we're just doing a lesson or something, front toss or teamwork. They don't have to have a hat on.
Well, there was this place where I grew up. It was called the Hit Doctor, and they would make you wear a hat. So I forgot my hat one day because in group training or whatever we were doing, I was like 13. I had a 7th grade science test the next day, and I was studying hard for it. And I ran out of the house because it was in the evening, and I forgot my hat. And the instructor tried to embarrass me in front of the group because I wasn't wearing a hat. So I told my dad, and my dad, he fixed things.
Yeah,
that's a good father right there.
Yeah,
he told that instructor, my son's got a science test. He forgot his hat, and you can't teach him anything because you don't know what you're talking about. That's what he said to him. And then maybe some other choice words that I don't want to repeat.
Did he use a baseball bat into the guy's knees? Because that's what I would think.
No. But he was,
didn't go that far.
He was not very happy that I got called out for not wearing a hat. I think it's so stupid, by the way. You have to wear a hat indoors. Shouldn't the training environment be easy until you make it hard? You shouldn't make it uncomfortable for the player, right? I mean, it goes back to when you play in a game too. You look good, you feel good. Or am I just an idiot?
Well, that's up in the air now, right? But yes, I totally agree. If you feel good, you're going to play well.
Right.
Exactly. It depends what we're working on. So sometimes we create chaos, right? With machines and stress. Like if we're working on that, if we're working on more live at bats, I want to create stress and chaos and music and people ragging each other. But if we're working on a mechanical issue with a lower body or with upper body or casting, then absolutely I want them to not be stressed and to not feel bad and to be able to concentrate on that certain move.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, so that was my hat story, but I think everybody should go out and get this hat. It's very cool, and I appreciate it.
Thanks for saying that, Jim, because we blew through a lot of hats already. So now I have to reorder some because I'm sure people are going to be like, hey, we need some hats. And now I got to put it in order.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to add stress to my life. But
I'm trying to add sales to your bottom line. No, I wasn't trying to do a commercial. I was trying to do like a public. I did a private thank you, but I was trying to do a public thank you as well.
Yeah. No, they're pretty good. I like the leather patch.
Do you have any doggy hats that the lab would sell?
Ooh. My daughter likes to dress up our dog with some weird hats and outfits. So I
have a customer in my arms right now, right?
Yeah.
She would love a hat. You want to talk into the mic?
Great head of hair on that dog.
She does. Too. My God. She is a golden doodle. She has some of the best head of hair. She was yesterday, we took a walk and she laid on the grass for like a good 5 minutes. And I said, I put on my Instagram at Jim Tara, by the way. Typical Florida dog. So she would look good in a lab hat.
Yeah.
Go along with her blue harness. Yeah. That's right. All right. There you go. Put you back. All right. So by the way, Dustin Pedroia retired this week, and it's kind of we've talked about this on the show before about players retiring. You see the beginning of their career and you see the end of it, and you start to look at yourself and you look at, the years going by. It makes you put into perspective the years going by, and you're getting older as well. And I remember when Dustin Pedroia first came up, and you remember this too, in 2007 with the Red Sox, he was really struggling for like the first 2 weeks of the season. They stuck with him, and he ended up winning the Rookie of the Year award, and they won the World Series that year, of course, beating your Rockies, the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah.
But he had a very nice career, unfortunately hampered by so many injuries. I think if he wasn't hampered by so many injuries, he would have had we had Hall of Fame talk, but I don't want to use that Hall of Fame term liberally. But he had a really good career, and he was just kind of the everyday man playing the game of baseball, and you really respect what he did.
Well, he's a hard worker, man. I mean, and he played, that guy was always dirty. Like pretty much your epitome of a college baseball player.
Yeah.
that just put his nose to the grindstone and made himself a great player. You know, he wasn't smooth or overly smooth at everything. I don't think that he wasn't good in college, right? Like he's the reason Ian Kinsler transferred out of ASU and went to Mizzou. Because this guy Pedroia, who's 5'8", was the man. So I mean, he was great in great tools, but boy, was he determined, and what a clutch player on offense and defense. Yeah, I was a big Pedroia fan.
Right. By the way, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. New episodes every Monday at 9 a.m. and email us to your questions at gmail.com. JimboPodcast21@gmail.com. Again, JimboPodcast21 at gmail.com. Super Bowl pick. Let me hear it really quick before we get into our
Super Bowl's over.
Our topic. Yeah, you're right. It is, isn't it? Okay, what would have been your pick?
Chiefs.
The Chiefs by 2? I say Chiefs by. I said the Chiefs by 2.
What, you said so. You took the points. You took Tampa and the points. I'm rooting for Tampa Bay.
You're rooting for Tampa.
I'll let that be known. Yeah, we're not. You can't really live in Denver. I mean, there's a lot of Chiefs fans here in Denver too.
Right.
But I guess the fact that I was in Mizzou, I could kind of root for Kansas City, but it's hard.
You couldn't root
Patrick
for him
Mahomes
yesterday.
A lot.
Yeah.
I like Patrick Mahomes a lot. I don't know if I care for anyone else on that team, but I really respect that guy. But yes, I rooted for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes.
But if I was a betting man, I would probably take the Chiefs by more than 6.
If you were a betting man, wink, wink. Or no wink, wink.
Or no wink. I mean, there may have been a wink. I don't know. Maybe I had something in my eye.
You could have. Yeah, you get a lot of stuff.
I got glasses on.
The show.
Yeah, I'm shopping for some new glasses, Jim. You won't recognize me.
I actually like the glasses you wear now.
Yeah, I've had them for 3 years. I need to get them updated.
And they're nice frame glasses. Black.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're very 60s.
But that's the style.
I love the 60s.
Today.
I love the 60s. Yeah.
Right, but that's the style, though.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what all the kids are wearing.
I was watching Fallon last night before going to bed.
Yeah.
And somebody sent him some like custom Nike. They kind of look like an Air Force, low top Air Force One or something like that. Yeah. But they were both different, right? They were custom made with cool, and they kind of had the same colors, but they didn't match. They were totally different patterns and colors, even though they somewhat went together. Like if you had, a shirt on and pants that matched, right? And he's like, I really don't know if this was on purpose. I don't know if I'm supposed to wear these shoes together. Like he was trying to ask, he was like, am I too old not to know the difference? And I was like, I wouldn't know what to do with something like that. Do people wear different non-matching shoes? Is that a thing?
I don't see the point in that. No, I don't see the point in that. By the way, Tampa's new name, and I'm going to sound like a real tool here.
Mm-hmm.
So just, if you get douche chills, whatever. So I apologize ahead of time. Our new name here in Tampa, we're called Champa. So anytime you want to refer to our city, you refer to Tampa as Champa, because all we do is win. Rays, Lightning. The Lightning will beat any hockey team in the world. Right. They're the best team in the world.
Right.
So
I
Rays,
didn't really think
Lightning,
of that.
And the Bucks. Tampa. We live in
Champa.
We live in Tampa, Champa. We live in Champa Bay, home to Tampa Brady.
Wow. Weird stuff comes out around Super Bowl time. I will tell you, I saw some renderings of the redevelopment plan around Tropicana. If that thing is for real, that makes me very excited.
Yeah. They had a ballpark ready to go and ready to be built in Ybor, and people who live in Florida listen to this podcast, listen to this podcast, know of Ybor. For those who don't, in different parts of the world, I apologize. But the Rays had a ballpark ready to be built. Very small, it was compact, and they never got the project off the ground, unfortunately.
Yeah. That happened in Oakland too.
Mm-hmm. Well, the A's are getting move it. Yeah, they're getting a new ballpark though.
They are, but are they doing it right at where the Coliseum is?
That I don't know.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, they had an area down by one of the junior colleges, and it was going to be awesome by the water. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, it fell through. There was some kind of petition about, a bird or something like that. That may have
a bird
there.
A bird?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a bird. I could be wrong on this,
California.
but I'm pretty sure there was a bird they had to move, or
Right.
its land was their habitat. So
Oh,
they
okay. That makes
scrapped
more
it.
sense. Okay.
They scrapped it. Yeah, not like a bird was just hanging out there. Like I
Oh,
think it
yeah.
was maybe
Right.
some wetlands. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'll have to go back and look, because the A's to me are kind of like the Devil Rays
Of the West.
but they're not from Champa, so
Right.
they're not as good.
Either are the Rays, by the way. Technically, they're from St. Petersburg.
Oh, really? Is that where the ballpark?
That Tropicana Field's in St. Petersburg, which is
It is
like 25 minutes from Champa.
Isn't it across isn't there a bridge or something?
Yes.
I feel like I went across that bridge. I didn't know the ballpark was there, though.
It is.
That's
yes.
interesting. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why the Lightning draw so well, by the way, because they're right in Tampa. Well, Tampa's a big hockey town, but they draw the best out of
right?
They draw the best out of any sports team in Florida, outside of college football teams. They draw the best out of every team in Florida. They're like in the top 10 attendance every year in the NHL. It's crazy. They outdraw the Bucks too.
Huh.
Yeah, go figure. By the way, and this was like a year ago. This year we don't count 2020 or 2021 because they still don't have fans.
Right.
The MLS team in Champa also won a championship. So that's why
they did.
So that's why it's called Champa. So if anybody ever wants to find me in a non-weird way, I'm in Champa. You can find me in Champa Bay.
Boy,
home to Tampa Brady and the Super Bowl champion Bucks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I'm going to eat my words next week's show.
Well, you can always edit.
I can, but then again, I could always edit. But that takes more. That takes a lot more work then.
You don't want to do that.
No. Anyway, by the way, speaking of more work, I did some work for the show this week, and we have episode clips up on YouTube. So check out our YouTube page, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast. We've got full episodes, and very soon, we're going to be having you're going to be able to see us doing the show, live video. Not live video, but it's going to be video. People are going to be able to see us. So we're going to actually have to look like pretty, and then again, we're both good looking men. I think we'll be okay the way we look. But you're going to be able to see us doing the show on video in just a few weeks, which will
have to put the contacts in.
That's right. Well, no, you get new glasses so you can wear the glasses.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
What's going on at the lab this week? Anything new that we should know about?
Anything new? Yeah, we got some new toys, man.
Yes.
We're all excited. We got this new Blaze Pod system, which allows players. It's like an agility course, so we can use it for balance and eye-hand coordination. We can also send players through a matrix. So to break up the hitting a little bit, we're trying to build in. Especially the kids love to do that, but getting quick twitch muscles to happen, not just your body muscles, but your eyes and how your eyes work as well. So we got some of that. We got some heavier bats. We got some of the Camwood bats and stations where we're forcing players to use that with some special T drills just to work on hand path, because so many players cast and have bat drag. So we've created kind of a new system for that. And then we've hired a couple instructors. So now we have more instructors kind of per student,
Very good.
In there.
Very
so
good.
We're able to handle. Our demand really went through the roof here once school started, because the cases have gone down there in Texas. So we've had to, bring in some extra help and create some more stations in there for players to get better every week.
All right. So for more information, be sure to log on to thelabbcs.com. And again, that is thelabbcs.com. Episode 41, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast, part 2 today of what we started to talk about last week, types of hitters. We talked about gap-to-gap type hitters. Today, we're wrapping up that small mini series and talking about power hitters today. And the first question I want to ask, and this kind of piggybacks onto last week's episode, we touched on it a little bit, but are power hitters just naturally with their DNA and whatnot born and bred, or is it something that in regards to your power that you can get later on in your career as you're moving forward? Or is it just kind of both cases?
There's different kinds of power. There's over the fence power, And then there's power in hitting the ball hard. Like, are we creating power? Are we creating enough bat speed?
Yeah.
Are we creating enough energy with our body so that that bat is moving really fast? And if that bat's moving really fast and it has good size and momentum, do we hit it on the sweet spot? Okay,
Yeah.
so, you know, my dad always used to categorize that. There's power, and then there's over the fence power. So over the fence power would be somebody with power, bat speed, you know, exit velocity.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden their misses are under, right?
Mhm.
They're fly ball hitters. They're
Yeah.
fly ball hitters. And when you can hit a ball, you know, of around 100 miles an hour high, then it will go out of the park. So that's a swing plane change, or that's a body positioning change, or that's a pitch recognition change, or, you know, whatever it is. So I think they can be made, but I think they have to have the ability to create speed, you know, and hit the ball hard. So it doesn't do you any good, like 12-year-olds, to have, you know, a 92-pound 12-year-old to have power over the fence power, because they're going to hit the ball far enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, they don't create enough bat speed. So to give them that kind of trajectory, they're just going to hit a lot of fly balls to the outfield. And they'll get hits too, right? But they're going to hit a lot, you know, those balls that should be home runs if they were 200 pounds and created bat speed aren't going to be. So later in life, that comes because guys get bigger and stronger, and they're surrounded by players that are doing things differently. So my dad always used to, and it's changed now because of technology, because of data, because of how people are taught. But, you know, everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but, you know, most people were taught to hit the ball hard up the middle, right?
Yeah.
Like, as a kid, the major leaguer was taught to, you know, Chipper Jones, when he was 12 years old, hit the ball hard up the middle, gap to gap, you know, hit line drives all over the place. And they would hit, you know, 320 in the minor leagues, and they'd hit 10 to 15 home runs. And all of a sudden, 5 years into the big leagues, these guys are hitting 30 home runs. And people are like, wow, where did their power come from? Charlie Blackmon was a prime example of that. Where does this power come from? And it's really being surrounded by people that have already been in the big leagues. And they would see guys that, you know, maybe sat back a little bit more to create more, you know, loft with their swing, if you will. Or they swung up a little bit more. Maybe they used to swing down a lot, and maybe their attack angle was like 0 most of the time in the minor leagues. Now all of a sudden it's coming up 10 degrees, and they're starting to launch balls higher the right way. So that was an interesting, now players are coming into the, you know, high school and college with that trajectory. So I'll give a brief example. I saw a kid on so I've been doing my draft reports for the Brewers. I obviously I can't tell you who the people are, or where they're from, or anything like that. But there was a player that came across that I evaluated, and he had a really nice swing, like a really nice swing. And I thought to myself, that swing plays, and I'm trying to think who it was, like a Josh Hamilton kind of swing.
Okay, because I'm thinking of somebody else who you and I spoke about.
It wasn't that.
It wasn't
guy.
him.
No, it wasn't that guy. This was a different guy.
Okay.
And this guy was only 5'9". And I thought to myself, I'm not a big pigeonhole guy, but that swing, because he had a little bit of loft to it, right? He had a little bit of barrel drop, but then he stayed through it really well. So his misses are going to be kind of fly balls to the opposite field, pop-ups, you know, to really all over. That'll be his miss. He's not going to roll. He'll still roll over a little bit, but it won't be a rollover. It'll be more like he swung up at 20 degrees and he hit the top half of the ball and he hit a ground ball.
Yeah.
And where I thought to myself, if I had this player and I had a week to work with somebody like that, I could get him to be the kind of player he needs to be, right? He needs to be a low line drive hitter. He needs to, if he were left-handed, he needs to be able to hit a low line drive over a shortstop into the gap, backspin it into the gap.
Is that his approach, or is that what he has to do to get to where he needs to get to?
I think based on his size and his bat speed and his position in the lineup and on the field, I think that's what he needs to do, because his misses. So there's a lot of big leaguers that just miss balls and they go out of the park.
Right.
Like his just misses aren't going to go out of the park. They're going to be outs. And so he can't get away with some of those moves where if somebody that was bigger and stronger and had an exit velocity of 10 miles an hour faster, or bat speed of 5 or 6 miles an hour faster. So it was hard for me to write this report because I really liked him. And if he was 6'2", and again, this sounds horrible to people that are 5'9", I feel like there's a spot for everyone. But I feel his swing at this time and his size do not match up. He should not be a power hitter.
Okay.
And he should be the person we talked about last week, which is a line drive gap hitter. Now, I don't know the new minor league hitting coordinator. She just got promoted, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. And I don't know, what their thoughts are, on people that they draft or people in the organization. But I know personally, if I had that player, I would love, because I know the swing is really good and it needs to be adjusted.
Sure.
And I could do that quickly. I don't know how many people can do it. Even if the plan is there, hey, this person needs to do this, can that player do it? Now, some players are just so athletic. They're like, oh, you need me to hit it. And I've worked with these players. Hey, see when you hit the ball to left field, like I'm going to set up the machine, middle away. We'll say this is a left-hand hitter. We'll set it at 85, 90. We'll set it at 90 miles an hour. Just hit balls to left center field, right? Yeah. And they hit 30 balls, and Hit Track says, I don't care how hard they were. I don't care if they were hits, but it says your average, trajectory was like 38 degrees, right? Like it was too high for that. If it was a pull side, that would be okay. So now it's like, okay, I don't tell this player how to do it, but hey, I need you to make that number be 20 degrees, not 38.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do. See if you can make yourself do that. And special people can make themselves do it. And if he's one of those people, then he can be very coachable and he'll be just fine.
I won't ask too many questions about him. I don't want to know. And it's nobody's business. It's, we both can't discuss certain things.
I'll get fired. Yeah. So
exactly.
Probably, yeah.
All right. Well, is he an outfielder? You can't answer, don't answer. We'll move on. Tell me off air.
I can tell you off air.
Tell me off air.
I'll tell you.
Tell me off air. Also,
and honestly, I don't even know how highly ranked he is. I don't know if he's a first round person or a third round person.
Okay. That's all we'll say.
That part of it, that part of it, I don't even know if he's like that main.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk about him off air because I think anyway. Let me ask you now, when scouts talk about power, and you kind of mentioned it there a few moments ago with game power and just natural over the fence power. That's kind of where that raw power scouting grade comes from. Mm-hmm. How do they translate that raw power? Well, first of all, before we talk about that, what is that? I mean, what is, for the audience, what is that quote unquote raw power in a hitter that scouts look at and grade it on a scouting scale of 20 to 80?
Yeah, a lot of times it's size. Mm-hmm. It's like these big brute of guys that are just so big and strong, and they're able to pull balls high and far. So that's kind of the power. What am I thinking of? Looking into the future. The potential, the power potential, if you're giving a guy a 60 grade or a 70 grade or something like that, or an 80 grade, if that's even possible for power. But it's usually a big person that has a lot of pull side power. They're hitting balls 450 feet when they're in high school. Okay. So a lot of times, though, what that translates to is BP power. Okay. So, and BP power means, and I see a lot of this with my videos that come through my scouting stuff is, these guys are swinging up a lot. They have a big barrel drop, and then they come up and swing up because the ball's dropping a lot. The ball's dropping 15, 16 degrees. These guys can swing up at 20, still hit most of the ball to maximize energy into the ball and exit velocity. And they can launch balls high and far. The problem is that doesn't translate to a 90 mile an hour fastball or more. Mm-hmm. Like if you throw a 90 mile an hour fastball in there, their happy zone, their consistent zone. So in BP, this guy might hit 3 out of 5 balls over the fence, 400 something feet. Mm-hmm. Well, in a game, or even just velocity, if you threw the same spot, like you put a machine out there that was super accurate and you threw it at 90 miles an hour on a 4-degree downslope, 5-degree downslope, their consistency would be like 1 out of 10, even though they knew the pitch was coming, even though they knew the location, even though they knew what they were trying to do, because they're only in the zone for such a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. And that's the hard part. There was a guy that I looked at from Arizona. This was a draft 2 or 3 years ago. The Brewers didn't draft him, and he was I think he was a top 10 pick, and I can't remember who it was. Big, strong guy. I think he was from Arizona or Vegas or something like that. Left-handed hitter, and he was, he had this weird shoulder move, and he had a big kind of uppercut swing, and I was like, God, he looks good in BP. Like, if you were standing behind a cage, he's just going to launch balls left and right. I said, but I don't know how that's going to work in games, and so I need to go back and look at those guys and see if they were able to be successful, at that level. And some guys change. Some guys have the ability to change rather easily, and I don't want to, getting back to players that aren't big, or aren't tall. One of my favorite students of all time, I got him kind of a spot to walk on at Mizzou when I was there, because he's the hardest damn worker. He'll outwork anybody. Weight room, he'll outwork everyone. Hitting, he'll outwork everyone. Taking grandma, he'll walk. I mean, this guy, you just want him in your. And he was nobody wanted him, right? Like, I mean, people wanted him, like really small schools and stuff like that, because they're like, oh, this guy's 5'7". Like, what are we gonna do with him? And I'm like, but the dude hits. And so we got his swing to where it needed to be, right? Flat. He can just shoot balls he's a left-handed hitter. He can shoot balls to left center field. He runs, he's scrappy. And where there's no other kid his size in the SEC, this kid's going to play. Yeah. Like, he's not just going to, like, most people walk on and get cut in the fall, right? That's just kind of how it is. So he's going to continue to get better and play. And I'm telling you, I'm convinced he's going to be a starter at some point, right? Yeah. And he's a kid that people are like, whatever. But what happened was he was a late bloomer, and even though his swing plane is very flat, he doesn't have big vertical bad angle drop, right? He keeps his barrel flat so he can shoot balls the other way. He was leading like the state of Washington in home runs a couple years ago. Wow. At 5'7", right? Yeah. Because he just had the right trajectory. And if he was a little early and caught the bottom half, it'd go out of the park. If he was a little bit later, he'd shoot it the other way. So there's a spot for players like that. He can hit home runs, right? I just told you he hit home runs in high school. He's hit balls out of the park and, in inter squads and stuff like that. But he's not a power hitter. And that's kind of the difference of what we're looking for, is you can adjust a player's how their swing plane works and how their hands work to fit their exit velocity. If his average high exit velocity is, 93 miles an hour, right? Sure. Versus guys like Zimmerman when I was at Mizzou a couple years, his average high was probably like 105 to 110. When he would square balls up, right? Those have to be totally different hitters. Right. Exactly. Because of size, strength, and everything else. Now, if he's 5'8" and he's hitting balls 110 miles an hour, okay, now we can possibly change the conversation. And that's what I didn't know about the guy that I looked on video. I don't see any of his metrics. I see a guy that looks like he has pretty good power and bat speed for a guy that's 5'9". I just don't know how good it is. Yeah. Exactly. And then that's hard to make adjustments, because maybe he will be a 5'9" power hitter, but how many of those guys have there been? Yeah, not many. Dustin Pedroia. Not many. No, he's not even. Right. He wasn't even a power hitter, but he did have. He did have good pop. Yeah. But you can categorize. Let me ask you this though: you can categorize like great high school players who are going to play at the next level, SEC, professional. Great college players who play in the Cape Cod, some of the top collegiate summer leagues, going on to the next level. You can categorize them as just all-around hitters because they still hit a lot of home runs because of the competition, but you wouldn't necessarily say that they're power hitters, would you? So what differentiates at the next level the power hitters fundamentally from the guys who aren't power hitters, who are just regular gap to gap type hitters? You got to let them play, right? I think that's where it comes from. I don't think you're categorizing them young. I think they get to the big leagues and it's like, okay, this guy's going to be a power hitter. I think when Nolan Arenado came up, he wasn't a power hitter. Trevor Story came up, he wasn't a power hitter. Would you consider Tatis Jr. a power hitter? I would not. Right, but he's going to hit 30 home runs a year. Right. So, like, I would categorize Luke Voit as a power hitter, Aaron Judge as a power hitter. I don't think I would label any Astro as a true power hitter. Sure. I'm trying to think of guys. That guy for the A's, the first baseman, I probably Matt Chapman, No, not Chapman. He's a third baseman. Is it
Matt Olson. Excuse me. Sorry.
The first.
Yeah.
Well,
Matt
no, Chappie's a third baseman, but I don't think he's a true power hitter. The first baseman is kind of that more power hitter.
Right.
Chris Davis is, a power hitter, hits
Yep.
240. So guys that typically are in that 40 home run mark and they strike out a couple hundred times and their misses are in the air.
Yeah.
And they're trying not to hit into double plays. That's where I consider guys, power hitters.
But it always fascinated me, though, when you're talking about guys with power, just looking beyond the numbers, what makes them powerful? What gives them that type of power? Because when you look at Chris Davis, would you say he's stronger than, say, a George Springer?
No,
I'm not so sure.
No,
and you look at Josh Hamilton, who was very big, and strong. I can hear myself reverberating. By the way, which I like. I'm listening to my own. Listening to myself. Listening to my own podcast. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh, there we go. We're good now.
Yes. So
we're not editing. Yes. We're not editing that out, by the way. That is a great moment of the show. What I was saying, though,
I didn't see anything. And yes. Okay. I'm back now.
What I was saying, that's okay. That's okay. What I was saying,
the last thing I heard was George Springer.
Right. So Josh Hamilton, for example, was, I mean, you look at him, he was a gigantic guy. He had a ton of muscle on him. I mean, the guy could probably squat around 450 pounds. But he wasn't a power hitter. He wasn't considered a power hitter. So what makes somebody a power hitter and projects them as a power hitter going forward in their careers and then their minor leagues, and when they get to the major leagues, that helps them get to, like a Pete Alonso, that 40 to 50 home run mark? That's what is always fascinating to a lot of people.
I would categorize power hitters as guys that have misses in the air. Okay, so they hit the bottom of the ball consistently.
Yeah.
If you hit the bottom of the ball, you're going to create backspin. Okay, that's just kind of the way it is, right? You hit the top of the ball, it's probably going to be topspin. Very hard to hit the top of the ball and create backspin.
Right.
So they hit balls that carry. I would say Chris Davis hits balls that carry. He's not huge, right? I'm talking about the Oakland A's Chris Davis, right? Sure. He's not a huge guy. He doesn't hit 480-foot home runs, right? But he sure hits a lot of home runs, and he hits a lot of, and he strikes out a lot. Like, he doesn't have a very good average, but he hits a lot of home runs. You would call that person a power hitter because they're driving in runs and they're not necessarily scoring a lot of runs, right? Yeah. They're not getting a lot of singles and stealing a base or hitting doubles and scoring on singles, right? So they're going to have high slugging percentages. They're going to have high strikeout rates, and they're not going to score as many runs as somebody that hits, at the top of the order. So that's how I would categorize it. But honestly, there's guys that swing really, really hard that aren't power hitters. Yeah. And the reason is because they just don't hit balls that carry. They have a lot of topspin on balls, maybe when they go the other way because they have a barrel drop, they just get under it too much instead of driving through balls the other way. So power is a funny thing, because somebody can have a ton, like I see these young guys, these kids, these people going in the draft, right? Sure. High school kids that are 220 pounds. And I'm like, good God, like you're 18 years old, 17 years old. Yeah. You look at that person, you know how hard they hit it, but do they know the art of hitting the ball in the air with backspin? Like, so they try to do it by swinging up more. Right. I'm going to drop my barrel underneath and then lift it. And sometimes that works. Yeah. With some players, and most of the time that leads to a lot of topspin ground balls.
It doesn't work consistently, is what you're saying.
It never works consistently, right? So, it's kind of finding that player that, because Charlie Blackmon, for instance, I mean, if you hit over 30 home runs, you hit close to 40 home runs, you're a power hitter, right? But for some reason, if you hit 300, then you're a line drive gap hitter, right? But if you hit 240, and you have the same amount of home runs as somebody that hit 310, one guy's a power hitter and the other guy's just good all-around hitter.
Yeah, right, exactly.
For me, power is a guy that can hit balls over the fence without having to necessarily create that, meaning they just hit the right part of the ball. They find barrels and they launch it at the right trajectory. And that person can be, 180 pounds or he can be 280 pounds. I'm not really sure, but that's my opinion. That's my opinion of power.
Yeah.
I think most people's opinion of power is, can they swing hard? Can they, like Jason Giambi, right? Sure. That dude just hit the ball so high and so far. He's got to be a power hitter. Aaron Judge, he's a full power hitter. But I guarantee, I don't know. Aaron Judge is a power hitter because he's huge. But if Aaron Judge hit 330 with 30 home runs, he wouldn't be considered a power hitter.
What about Gary Sanchez? Is he considered a power hitter?
Why you got to ask me such a difficult question like that?
He's like an in-betweener almost.
He's
not a Voit, he's not a Judge, but he's also not a LeMahieu.
So Sanchez's swing is not a power hitter swing.
Yes.
His body is.
Sure. Okay. Makes sense.
And the amount of contact he makes is. But Sanchez's swing actually plays, and he creates so much bat speed. He just, I don't want to say he's not a great hitter. He's just, whether he's not smart with what he's looking for, and what his plan, his approach, maybe he doesn't see really well. But honestly, if you look at his mechanic, maybe his rhythm is not as good as it should be. But if you look at his swing plane, his swing plane is the swing plane of a guy that can hit over 300 and hit 35 home runs a year.
Yeah, and same with Gleyber Torres.
Yeah, no, not anymore. Now Gleyber Torres' swing is awful. I don't know what the heck happened the last year and a half.
What's awful about it?
Oh, he dumps the barrel so bad, and he swings up at like 20 degrees through the hitting zone. So he top spins the hell out of everything and swings under good pitches. Okay. I was so disappointed last year. Sorry I got very angry right there.
That's okay. I meant projection. I meant projection to hit.
And I'm sorry that I'm angry because when Gleyber Torres, I was in New York when he first got brought up in April. I don't know what year that was, but I was in New York, April. I was doing a camp.
It was April of 2017.
Okay. And I'm like, oh, this guy's phenomenal. And I went to I was there at BP. And I think I've told the story about watching Judge, Sanchez, and Stanton all in the same hitting group.
Correct.
All hit, watching them, standing right next to him, and just one guy's hitting low line drives off the right field foul pole, Stanton. Judge is hitting high weak fly balls 370 feet to right center. And then Sanchez is hitting just missiles to left center on like a 25-degree angle that are going like 400 feet, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm watching the game. The gentleman that I went with, we he was able to get really good seats, and so I was filming. I happened to film Torres while he was, and I got like a great swing in slow. I'm like, oh my god, this guy's mechanics are fantastic.
Sure.
And he was awesome his rookie year. And then I don't know, maybe his second year was good too. Anyway, I saw him last year. I'm like, oh, I see why you're doing terrible. Like, my goodness, that's a 10. That should be a 10-minute fix because you used to be there. And now all of a sudden, I don't know what you're trying to do. Maybe he got into what Judge is trying to do, and maybe what Voigt's trying to do, and he did it too much because those guys actually are, they try to get down and underneath and get their barrel underneath quickly. But the way Torres did it was not good. Torres needs to be more like a Baez, if he's going to be that way. And unfortunately, anyway, I hope he's back on track.
Let me ask you about approach. What's the approach, the main approach for power hitters that gives them that power and gives them better chances to have that power, I should say?
You do. You have to be smart. You have to know what pitch you're looking for, and you have to understand that you have to know what you're good at. Like if you're good at letting the ball get deep, then you have to commit to that. Okay, I let like Judge. Judge is really good when he lets the ball get deep.
Yeah.
Versus somebody like Sanchez isn't as good when he lets the ball get deep, right, based on his swing play. So you have to know where you are good, and you have to be smart to do that. And you have to, I would say, the best. You have to control your misses. Golfers say that all the time, right? I'm going to control my miss. What's my miss? When do I get in trouble? When I hook a ball. When I start hooking balls as a golfer, I'm bad. So I'm going to do everything I can never to hook a ball, right? Dustin Johnson. That's Dustin Johnson. Like, I don't care how much I slice it. I'm never going to hook it. So I have a one-way miss. I can aim here, and I know the ball's always going to move this way. Well, power hitters have to be the same way. Their miss can't be a ground ball. Like I might miss under and pop balls up all the time, but I'm not going to roll over a ball. I mean, they're going to roll over balls, but maybe 10% of the time they're going to roll over their outs. 90% of the time their outs are going to be, or, it's probably going to be 50% they're going to be in the air, and then 40% they're going to strike out, something like that. But you have to understand your misses. So if I miss, I'm going to miss underneath. And if I barely miss, it's a home run. If I catch it good, it's a home run. If I'm off by 3 or 4 inches, then I'm probably going to miss it. Sure. And that's the knowing your strengths, knowing what you're good at, creating a plan. More than anything, look, I'm a power hitter. People are afraid of me. Maybe they're going to pitch me different than Brett Gardner. Right. So I need to be able to know that, look, when was the last time I got a 1-0 fastball? When was the last time I got a 2-1 fastball? When was the last time I got a 3-1 fastball? Okay, well, and you use those count advantages or those count situations to your advantage. Yeah. And then you use I'm going to hit the bottom half of the ball. And I'm going to get big. Quite honestly, they're just always big and strong.
How do power hitters now work around the shifts and all the shifting in today's game?
Don't hit a ground ball.
Yeah.
So let's think about that. Why do they?
But they're pull guys. What if they're a pull guy though?
Well, they are. They usually are, right? So now the problem is they're take a left-handed power hitter, right? You got 3-4 guys on the right side of the infield. And why are they there? Because you typically pull the ball, but where do you pull the ball? On the ground. Why do you do that? Because you swing up too much. Right. So now all of a sudden we have to know, okay, why are we doing it? And then that swing plane changes. Like, look, if you're going to be underneath, there's different ways to be underneath. Like underneath means I'm going to dump the barrel early and I'm going to stay there. But at some point, my barrel is going to start working up. Yeah. And when it does work up, it works up too much, and hence the ground ball to the pull side, which is what the shift is for. I honestly think the shift destroys more of those line drives into right field. That the second baseman is playing shallow right, and it's a one-hop laser to him. I think that's the part that kills players. I think when they're early and they hit a ground ball, they're going to hit a ground ball. Right. But when they hit a line drive to right, straightaway right field, then that's the tough part. So yeah, it has to do with what part of the ball you hit and what your swing plane is like. And if you can create a swing plane where you can hit the ball out in front when you're early in the air, the shift doesn't matter.
Well, that's a good note right there to end the show on today, because we are out of time. And I have to admit something. I happen to forget my flash drive that has the show script. So I'm not even going on script today. I'm just
really
straightforward.
Man.
Yeah.
True professional, Jimmy.
Thank
you.
True
professional.
Did you call me James right there, or Jim, or
Jimmy?
Oh, I thought you mixed between James and Jim, and
Jammy.
Jam.
Nice word, jam. It's my Colorado accent.
But I don't have the listener question that the listener sent in, unfortunately. So I apologize.
Okay,
we will get to that question next week, though, because I forgot the flash drive with the show script on it. Yeah. But I think I hit on every point that we needed to with power guys. Did I miss anything? I mean, I want to make sure I hit on everything.
I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think we missed anything.
Okay. So we're good.
We're good. We're golden.
We're golden. Like Kaya, the golden eagle. Yeah. Next week, we discuss, because spring training is starting on time, and it's right around the corner. We discuss all things spring training next week with hitters and how they get prepared for spring training, how it's changed from when your dad was playing and from when you played, and with all new technology and getting players integrated. We talk about all that. And by the way, minor league spring training starts in like a month. So that's a little bit different. But we'll talk all things spring training next week. That'll be a great show, as it is every week.
That'll be fun. Every week is fantastic, but spring training time is fun.
Yes.
I love spring training.
So be sure to like and subscribe. And of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jim Tara, at Epstein Hitting, and email us your questions. We promise we'll get to them. JimboPodcast21@gmail.com from Champa Bay. My name is Jim, and we will talk to you next week.